Awesome. Hey, everyone. Like I said, my name is Connor. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Rustic Pathways spring break programs. So that'll be the theme of tonight's webinars. You definitely can feel free to ask questions about summer programs towards the end. We might direct you to give us a call tomorrow. Just want to clarify that tonight's theme is all about our spring break trips that are coming up in March and April. As I was saying, if you were entering a little bit late, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see something that just says Q&A. Definitely feel free to use that section anytime. My colleague Casey is in the back answering questions throughout the webinar. If there's some really good questions that are good for all parents to hear, he'll just let me know and we'll answer those towards the end of the webinar. But anytime you have anything that pops up, definitely use that Q&A section towards the bottom. As I said, my name is Connor. I'm one of our global program advisors here at Rustic Pathways. It's a team of 4 of us that have usually worked on average about just around 10 years each in the organization. And usually we have a wealth of knowledge on programs. So like for myself, I've worked in about 15 different countries and about 60 different programs. And that ranges from the United States, Peru, Dominican Republic, Tanzania, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, China, Mongolia, Australia, Fiji. So I've sort of just been all over the map. So myself and all the other global program advisors are here to help parents and students like yourselves just figure out what are the right programs for you, what aligns with your passions and interests, and finding really great adventure opportunities for everyone. Tonight, this is the overview of what we're going to talk about. I'm going to go into a brief overview about who is Rustic Pathways, a little bit about our history, the types of programs that we do. Then I'm going to premiere a spring break promotion that we're doing. So it's an awesome time for you to come to the webinar because we've got a promotion that we're starting tonight. So you can save a little bit of money if you're looking for a spring break trip. Then I'm going to go into each of the 5 programs that we have for spring break, tell you a little bit about the key elements of the itineraries or some really just great highlights of each of the programs. I'll briefly go over how to enroll. So if you're all set to sign up for a program, just how to navigate the website. And submit that enrollment application. Also show a couple cool tricks on the website where you can find some more information. And then we'll wrap up with some questions at the very end. So as I said, the first thing I want to talk about is just Rustic Pathways. Who are we? What do we do? So we've been around for just shy of 40 years. So it's our 37th season. And Rustic Pathways really is the intersection between education, travel, and philanthropy. So obviously people come to us because they're really excited to either see a different part of the country where they live or see a completely different part of the world. But beyond just travel, we really want to make sure that when students are on programs, that they're getting an understanding for what is it like to be in that country? Who are the people that live there? What is the culture? What is the history? What is the background of the area that we're in? We want to teach them about development issues. We want to teach them about how a big city versus a small city operates in Thailand, because as it is in the United States, those kind of things look very different even within the same country. And then also we want to look at our programs from a philanthropic standpoint, because we're really about long-term sustainable development in all of the regions that we travel. As I said, we've been around for many, many years at this point. And one of the things that makes our programs both really unique and really impactful to the students is that we want to make sure that when we are traveling there, it's not just for the benefit of our students, but also benefiting the communities and the people where we're traveling. So about 70% of our programs now at Rustic Pathways have some kind of community service or volunteering component to it. And that looks completely different depending on what program you're doing. We sort of have a wide variety and a wide breadth of community service options. So it could be an infrastructure development project where we're building a school for, or we're building housing for a teacher to come teach at the school. It could be working on women's equality issues in Peru. It could be animal conservation trips, working with elephants in Thailand or pandas in China. It could be working with education initiatives. So really teaching students in Latin America things like critical thinking and leadership skills. So our volunteer elements really runs the gamut in terms of types of things that we do. And ultimately, I think just another cool thing about Rustic Pathways is that we have full-time year-round operations in every country that we travel. So we're not just coming in 2 weeks before our students arrive and saying like, ooh, does the school need to be painted? We're working with community leaders sort of year round to think about what project are we working on this spring or this summer, and what are we doing in the short term to maybe be doing a project, you know, in June or July of this upcoming year, but also what's our 2-year plan and 3-year plan and 5-year plan and 10-year plan, and really working on developing those kind of things with the communities themselves. It just provides for a lot more buy-in. It provides for a lot more impact of the program itself, and the community has that sort of input. And ultimately too, just having that year-round operations in each of our countries also just allows us to have a better sort of grasp about safety elements in all of our programs, because we're able to sort of monitor in real time what's happening on the ground. We have a much better understanding of countries, both culturally, politically, socially, environmentally. So I just think that's a really cool part of Rustic Pathways that is pretty unique in the student travel realm. Next thing I want to talk about is a spring break promotion that we're having. So this is actually launching and premiering tonight. So you're definitely here at the right time to hear about it. But we're running this promotion through next week, Sunday, so January 27th. And you can save 10% on any program that you enroll into before next week, Sunday. It is just for spring break programs, so it does not apply to any of our summer trips, but it's absolutely the best time to sort of sign up for a spring break trip. We really wanted to run this promotion for a couple reasons. Next week will be the week that we provide flight information for people. So we know that that'll be the best time to start booking flights when airlines have solidified sort of their schedules. It's also early enough in the year for you to still get good value on those flight prices. And ultimately, we want to give you about 6 to 8 weeks to prepare for programs anyway. So if you want to meet with a family doctor to talk about immunizations or vaccinations, if you've got to get things from the packing list, to fill out your paperwork, and just in general, get excited and jazzed. So we really want people to start thinking about enrolling within the next probably like week and a half, just so you have that time to prepare and before all the trips sell out, quite honestly. Next thing I want to talk about is the spring break programs themselves. As I just mentioned, right around this time of year is when we'll start to see people really starting to think about spring break. So I think as people are coming back from their winter break, they're really aware that the next sort of long break that they might have is over spring. I'm really trying to plan what that looks like. As we go into the 5 programs in the next slides, one thing that I think is really important to think about is what kind of experience and opportunity do you want on a program? So some people want something that's a little bit more service intensive. Some people say, you know what, it's a 1-week break. I maybe want to do a little bit of service, but I also just want to relax and have some adventure and sort of take an academic breather. Do you want something a little bit more rural and rugged? Just thinking about some of those kind of opportunities will be really important to determine like which of these programs is going to be the best fit for you. And now I'll jump into the programs themselves. The first program that we run is called Spring to Fiji. All of our spring break programs are 1-week trips, I should say. So they go typically from a Saturday to a Saturday. For Spring to Fiji in particular, and I should say this about all of our spring break trips, it's all self-managed airfare. And what that means is traditionally for our summer programs, Rustic Pathways will do all of the international bookings. For spring break trips, individual families do their own bookings to that destination. So we'll give you about a 4 to 5 hour window of time when you should arrive and depart at that starting point city in country, where we'll have staff members at the arrivals hall to pick you up and get you with the rest of the students. I mentioned that with Spring to Fiji. A good majority of our students do come from the United States on our spring break trips, simply because it's sort of aligned with the traditional US spring break schedule. For Spring to Fiji, there'll be 1 flight that we really recommend, and simply it's just because there's only 1 direct flight that goes from the United States to Nandi every week. So for Spring to Fiji in particular, it tends to be everyone ends up on the same flight because they don't want to connect through Hong Kong or South Korea. So that one's a little bit easier to sort of meet up with Rustic Pathways students in the flight over, but it is probably the longest sort of flight time for all of our spring break programs. But Spring to Fiji is a really good mixture between service and adventure components. So the adventure components on the trip, you'll be doing things like zip lining, we'll do like an island hopping day, we'll do a bit of a hike into some of like the more hilly, mountainy parts just for beautiful sights, bonfires on the beach. It's just a really delightful program for some of those adventure components. But the service in Fiji is also really awesome. So if you're looking for a program that is a little bit more service oriented during spring, this is one of the programs that I would definitely recommend you looking at. It takes place at our Eco Lodge. So our Eco Lodge in Fiji is a facility that's built, owned, and operated by Rustic Pathways. So only Rustic Pathways students stay at that base, and it's specifically designed for students. The accommodation is pretty comfortable. Like there's a swimming pool at the base house. There's lots of common areas with the pool table and just areas to hang out with other students. The rooms are super nice. They're all like bunk style accommodation, but just in general, the accommodation is really easy on the program itself. Like I said, we have long-term commitments in this region. Fiji is actually the second country that Rustic Pathways ever traveled to. So we've been doing community service projects in this part of the world for right around 3 decades. And on the program itself, we'll be doing some like infrastructure-based projects. So a lot of the things that we're doing right now over the springtime in Fiji is working with some local schools and some rebuilding efforts. So it's a really great way to engage with the community. I think it's really eye-opening for students to sort of see some of the like education facilities there, and really the importance of sort of upkeep and maintenance and expanding some of that classroom space. Because it's not uncommon to see a classroom with 30 or 40 students and really thinking about like, how do we reduce that class size to give students more one-on-one attention? Or how do we build a school so you don't have to walk 2 hours to class every day in order to attend? So we'll start to talk about some issues like that and how the development issues in Fiji really are affected by sometimes like how far away families live. So just in general, I think it's a really great program for both the community service and some of that sort of adventure opportunity. The next program I'll talk to you about is Sacred Valley Service in Peru. This is one of our most popular programs during the summer. It sells out every year. We can't get more capacity on it during the summer. And so we finally said, you know what, let's try and figure out a way to get our students there for spring break, just because so many people want to come and volunteer in this community. This program is a really great program, again, for a mixture between sort of like travel and the sort of community service element of it. There's only about 12 hours of community service on this one, so it's definitely not as service or volunteer focused as the one in Fiji. But the things that we're doing in Peru is working on a potable water project. So again, it's a little bit more in the realm of infrastructure development and construction work. But the focus of this one is really talking about communities that don't have access to like clean or potable water. So they may have to walk 1 mile, 2 miles, 2.5 miles in order to get a bucket of water to take back home that they can use for washing clothes or cleaning dishes or things like that. So our project in the Sacred Valley, and you can actually kind of see in this picture here, the students just digging trenches. And what we're doing is we're digging trenches so we can lay some pipe work, so we can get that water into areas of the community that did not have easy access to clean water in the past. So I think it's another cool way just to think about different kinds of development issues that occur around the world. This one, obviously, we're going to talk a lot about how the importance of access to clean water, how it affects like health and hygiene and just all those kinds of factors on the program. This one I think is also so awesome. This one doesn't have as many like pure adventure activities as Fiji would, but you get to do a little bit more touring, like going to see Machu Picchu. It is just phenomenal. So Machu Picchu is one of the 7 modern wonders of the world. I personally have been there. It is just incredible to sort of get up to the mountain landscape. It is just this green and vibrant all the time that you're there. We'll teach you quite a bit about the history of why it got built there, why we think they left, how the civilization got destroyed. Beautiful photos, but also just a really great way to understand sort of the historical community and culture of Peru. This program, one thing that I like to tell people of like differentiating when you're comparing and contrasting between trips, this one is definitely going to be more on the like rural, rugged end of things. So we'll stay in like hotels and guest houses when we're going to Machu Picchu, but we're in the community of Ollantaytambo, doing sort of the like the development work. That's all like camping. So it's very rural and rugged for a couple days on the program. I never think that there's a better or worse way to do a program in terms of accommodation. I personally like the more rural and rugged side of things, but it's just good for you to know like what kind of experience you want, so you can sort of decide which of these is a better fit for you. The next program that I'll talk about is Surf and Service in Costa Rica. The title is very descriptive for this one. It is really a 50-50 split between surfing and doing community service on the program. This one we're working again with development projects. So you'll see it in the upper right-hand corner there in the picture. A lot of the families in this area just live in some like lower income housing sort of areas. And so if they get hit by storms during the spring, a lot of families might not have the financial resources or the ability to make repairs on their walls or on the roof, or to be able to have like the floors re-cemented or things like that. So we'll work with the community to sort of identify families that could use some of this help and assistance in rebuilding their homes. And that's what our students will work on during the spring break time. Really great way to interact with the community, because you're obviously doing that sort of one-on-one interaction with the family who physically needs their home rebuilt. So I think there's just a lot of value that our students get from seeing the impact that they can have on one family directly in Costa Rica. And then the sort of like adventure component to it is there's going to be a ton of surfing. So pretty much every afternoon or morning on the program, we'll do a surf lesson. It really just depends on the tides, if we're going to do our service in the morning or the afternoon, and then which of the part of the day we're going to do our surfing. But this program is actually really great if you've never surfed, and really great if you are a huge surfer. We see both levels of students on this program. And we'll separate the two groups out so that one doesn't feel like they're behind the curve and one doesn't feel like they're sort of being brought down by beginner surfers. So we'll sort of split the group into two different parts of the beach. One part of the beach has a little bit more smoother, calmer, more consistent waves, which is really great for new surfers to sort of get the experience of paddling out, getting on your board and grabbing your first wave. And then we'll go to a different part of the beach for more advanced surfers that have some like bigger waves or things that are a little bit more challenging for people that already have that experience and the ability to consistently get on their board. While they're on the beach, you know, we're going to have a ton of surf instructors sort of with the two groups, in addition to people like me that might be your staff members. So this program is really great if you're looking to sort of build that skill level up while doing some service. And again, just very beachy. So if you're looking for a little bit more like calmer, relaxer spring break, this would be a really good fit for you. The next program I'll talk about is Rebuilding New Orleans. I love this program. So like I said, I've run probably about 50 to 60 programs now at this point. Rebuilding New Orleans is always up there in my personal, probably top 5 programs that I've ever run. And I think that's just because so many students are surprised when they see how much work still needs to happen in New Orleans. So after Hurricane Katrina hit almost 10 years ago, definitely, you know, was news and noteworthy for a year, 2 years. And then I think people just thought everything was fine. So coming back down to New Orleans and sort of seeing how many homes still need to be rebuilt, or how the community still isn't fully bounced back from when the hurricane hit, I think is really surprising and really impactful to our students. So this is one of the 2 programs of the total of 5 that I would say is more service heavy. And our partnership with this one is with an organization called St. Bernard Project that works with and identifies families that still need their homes rebuilt after all of this time. Does not matter if you do not have any previous construction. That is okay. That is our expectation on the program. We will have volunteer coordinators. We will have people from St. Bernard Project teaching you how to do things. But it depends on what home we're just in for that week. But we might be you know, laying sort of spackle on walls. We might be doing the shoeing, you know, at the bottom of the walls for homes. We might be painting, we might be sanding. We don't do anything like the electrical work or things like that that require very specific work. That will get like electricians in. But anything that our students are able to do in terms of like picking up a hammer, picking up some sandpaper, you know, putting some nails in the wall, that kind of stuff, we are happy to teach you. One of my favorite stories of all time is, you know, sometimes if we get done with a home, we'll have the homeowner come in. And I remember this one woman coming in and sort of saying, you know, I look around, you know, and I can see there, you didn't really paint, you know, there's a spot missing behind the door, and like right here on the side, there's a nail that's kind of half bent in. And she's like, if I had paid a contractor to come in, you know, I would have complained for him to come in and fix all of these small errors. But when I look around, I don't see small errors. I see people that came down and cared about me and my home and gave enough of their time and energy and love. And so I don't care that that nail is sticking out. I see that as a mark of love, not as an error. And I just think that's a really cool way to think about the communities that we're working with in New Orleans. They're so thankful still to this day to have people come in and just care enough about them and their homes and their families. And that love is so evident to our students when we're there. So beyond just the rebuilding of homes, we also want you to get to know New Orleans, which is just an awesome city. So we're going to take you to the French Quarter. We're going to have you get some beignets, which are just delicious French donuts. We're going to take you out to listen to jazz music. New Orleans is just one of those cities in the United States that is so unique and so lively and so vibrant that in addition to the community service, you really can just fall in love with the city because of its just like beautiful city culture that's really unique in the United States. So I really just highlight this one because sometimes people think, I don't want to stay in the United States, I want to go overseas. But it can be just as culturally impactful, eye-opening, and interesting for students as going outside of the country as well. And this one, like I said, very community service driven. So if you're comparing trips and want something very service driven, this is one of the ones I would look at. And the last of our 5 programs is Island Living and Eco Service in the DR. I've also had the pleasure to run this program. This program is going to be a really great balance between community service and just having sort of an academic breather between weeks of school. So we do about 12 hours of community service on this program. And as its name implies with eco service, it's all environmentally based. So we're going to be doing things like learning about like mangrove forests and the importance of sort of mangrove trees, not just for like protecting the island against hurricanes, but sort of like the underwater ecosystems that sort of develop because of these mangrove trees. So, you know, how do the trees impact like the fish populations? How do those fish populations affect corals and dolphins and turtles in the area and things like that? So it's a really great program if you want to learn about environmental service and the impact that, you know, protecting the environment really has on an entire country. And like I said, a lot of the things that we're doing is replanting those mangrove forests. So when a hurricane comes in, a lot of times what it'll do is, you've probably seen this on the news or in stories, it, you know, rips out trees. And if hurricanes come too quickly or too often, just the natural system doesn't have time to replace those trees. So we will go in with some sort of mangrove seedlings and teach students how to plant them to sort of give those mangrove forests a boost in sort of redeveloping after larger storms. When we're not doing the service, we're just spending time on the island. It is very traditional, like island living on this program. So we're going to spend heaps of time on the beach. We'll go, you know, walking to a waterfall and do like a cave exploration. We stay in some beautiful hotels on this program. So this is a really great program if you just want to do a little bit of service and then balance that out with just like a relaxing time for the 1 week during your break. Next thing I'm going to do is just how to enroll. So if you've seen all those 5 programs and you're like, you know what, I figured it out, I want to go to Fiji, the next step is, how do I enroll into a program? If you go to our website, which is just rusticpathways.com, you're going to see this little enroll button right at the top of the page. All you're going to do is click on that. it will take you to this where you just say, click here to enroll now. And you'll just fill out the application. It takes maybe 10 or 15 minutes to do. Very easy to do. You're going to fill out just simple demographic information. And I'll actually take you through the first page, Connor, just to give you a quick example. But you'll fill out all of this information. Because what I want to show you, once you get through this first page, is where you'll put that referral code. So once you get through this first page, and there'll be a couple more demographic information pieces that I'll skip for right now. This right here is where it says, do you have a referral code? That code that I pointed out to you, and we'll email everyone at the end of this webinar so you have a copy of that. That's where you would put that spring break code to make sure that you're getting 10% off a program. It's really important that you put the code in, otherwise it won't apply the discount. So that's just the section where you want to put that. But as you're completing the application, again, like I said, it's just basic demographic information that you'll continue to complete. So that section's pretty easy. The last couple things I want to show you are directly on the website. So we'll go back to the website. So after this webinar, if you want to find out more information about the programs, get some info like the packing list, or you want to go through the itineraries for any of the programs, the easiest way to find it is, again, if you go to this main page and click this menu button, if you click on program types, this is the way that we categorize programs either by area of interest or, in this case, spring break. So you can just click on spring break, and that will show you all 5 of our spring break programs that you can decide between. You can click into the programs, and that's where you're going to find more information about the itinerary, you know, the ages, the cost of the program, how many community service hours are on the trip. It'll also show you the availability for the trips. That becomes hugely important for spring break. We definitely find that probably within the next 2 weeks, so right before the end of January, is where we're going to see the most number of signups enroll into a program. Our spring break trips just tend to sell out all of the time because people have a very limited window when they can travel for their school spring break. So you'll start to see it look like this. If it's available, awesome, enroll into it. As soon as there becomes 4 or fewer spots on a program, it will individually list that out until it becomes sold out. Typically what I find with spring break trips, it'll look like it's available, and then as soon as it becomes limited, where it starts to show how many spots are left, they get taken up very quickly because people realize that everyone's sort of jumping on enrolling in the program. So definitely keep an eye on that in the enrollment process so you know if the date that you're looking for is still available. The last thing I want to show you on the website, if you have any questions anytime, we love to answer them. So as I said, there's 4 of us in the Global Program Advisor team. We would love to sit on the phone with you or write emails about what program is the right fit for you. If you just go into this last section, contact us, you can definitely fill out a form. If you just have a question you want to email us, or my favorite bit is you can click right here to schedule a call. So if you have a very busy schedule or you want to get, 2 parents or guardians together at the same time with a student, and you want to meet at 6 p.m., this is such a great feature, so you can sort of organize a call with one of our global program advisors. But when you click on that schedule a call app, you'll be able to pop up the calendar and literally schedule like a half-an-hour appointment for either myself or Casey or Jesse or Emily to give you a call and talk you through all the program options. There's also an online chat feature, which I always promote to people, also just run by our global program advisor team. So it's a real human answering your questions just in real time. And that is the end of the webinar. So here's a couple of our basic contact information. You can also feel free to call our main number or give us an email at any time. Yeah, I'll see if Casey has any questions for me in the background. Awesome, cool. Looks like he answered all the one-on-one questions for y'all in real time. So that will be it for us tonight. Definitely, like I said, feel free to give us a call, schedule a call with us, send us an email anytime. We love answering them. Otherwise, we really just look forward to seeing y'all during spring break or during summer. And we hope we can find a really good adventure for you and your student this year. Thanks so much, everyone.